Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Production Value. I'm Naomi Calhoun. This is my podcast about finding out every little detail I can from creators that I've been watching and loving from afar. Today, I am joined by an incredible video creator, one of my favorite YouTube channels, talking all about Big Brother in the most interesting and niche of facets. I am joined by BB Barfbag. Barf, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hello. This is so weird. Yeah, I'm like a smaller YouTuber, and I don't appear on camera that much, so I'm going to be a little awkward, but it's a learning curve. So thank you for inviting little old me onto the podcast. I appreciate it.
I'm happy to sort of pull you out of your shell, out of your rabbit hole, because I got a lot of burning questions and I need them answered right now.
Yeah, no. Happy to answer. For those who don't know me, I have made like 5 or 6 YouTube videos. It's a short, small start, but yeah, I do a lot of like deep dives on Big Brother and stuff. So yeah, anything you want to know, just let me know.
Yeah, I can't recommend enough anybody who's watching this or listening. 1, thank you for being here. 2, I think you should subscribe on YouTube. That's just my hot take to both
Love that.
myself and to
Love
Barb.
that.
And 3, stop this podcast right now. Go watch all those videos. You have the time for it. I know you do. And then come back, because I have so many wonderful thoughts, but I think that you need to know the aesthetic, the vibe of a BB Barfbag video before we carry on. So, okay, welcome back. And
Welcome
let's
back.
let's start. Let's talk
Welcome
about it.
back. Yes, I am Judd's cousin, and that's Judd's shirt right there.
So
Secrets revealed.
Yeah, I'm all of a sudden I'm Julie Chen, and I have what is it called? Big Brother DNA. What is Project DNA?
Oh,
Right,
Project DNA. Yeah.
looping around the house. Let's start at the very beginning, which is what makes you want to do this? What inspired you to say, I think I have the skills and the content where I want to put something out on YouTube?
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, my basic philosophy when it comes to Big Brother stuff, I love the Big Brother YouTube landscape. Peridium was like my idol, my hero. He was everything to me. I mean, he still is. But, when I watch a lot of YouTube stuff on Big Brother, a lot of it is focused on the game and the players and what makes them great and why. But I felt like there was sort of a lack of content, a sort of side area that could be more talked about, which is just Big Brother being an inherently weird, bizarre, fascinating show. And I wanted to make videos that could kind of speak to the aspects of Big Brother that are totally different from every other show. The fact that it's happening live in a house. And one of my favorite aspects is that there are elements where people on the outside can impact the game inside, even if it's, something really direct, like a banner plane flying over, just like totally dropping a bomb in the house, or more silly things. Like I've done a video about different celebrities that have come in the house to host competitions and the weirdness that arises from it. To my most recent one was about product placement. And all of the weird, like, little sponsored segments they've done, like forcing the Big Brother 4 house to keep eating Burger King and McDonald's until they were sick. So yeah, I've done a lot of videos that are about these weirder aspects of the show's history, where I just want to dig in and go a little bit beyond what's just on the edited show and see what it was like in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Big Brother's a weird ass show, right? I was not a Big Brother fan originally, and my very first season watching Big Brother was I caught the halting hex at a friend's party.
Oh,
That's
wow.
like the very first time I ever saw anything that had to do with Big Brother. I was like, I don't understand. Then I watched BB20. I was like, all right, it still doesn't make sense, but okay. And what I think also, Big Brother is such a different show across so many countries and places all around the world. And the way that each something about Big Brother USA feels very American. And I think that sometimes your videos really understand that, or like sort of are highlighting like, what are the ways in which the country of America made this house a weird little place?
Exactly.
I want to know where you started with Big Brother and what was your origin in becoming a fan, and rotting your brain as we all have with CBS content 3 times a week.
Don't we love it? Yeah. So for me, I wasn't a fan when I was younger. I know a lot of people watched Big Brother when they were kids, but I didn't really discover it until I just turned 18. I graduated high school. So this was like 2010. My first experience was the premiere episode of Big Brother 12 with like the Saboteur and Rachel Riley and all this insane stuff going on. And like my exposure to it beforehand, I had seen some stuff out of context because I was a big watcher of The Soup with Joel McHale.
I loved The Soup.
So like 2007, 2008, it was really big. And it was kind of like that era of reality TV kind of having a second wind, like, I don't know, the Kardashians and all the stuff on E becoming this huge, like, gigantic franchise empire. So I was watching a lot of that, but not competition reality. I'd always heard of like Survivor and The Amazing Race. I didn't really know what Big Brother was, but on The Soup, like, I think the first thing I ever saw was like Big Brother 8, Dustin and Joe having their big argument about who gave who gonorrhea. I found that really funny, but I didn't know anything about the show. And so I just like got random clips like that and Big Brother 9, like insanity and messiness. And they loved playing clips of like stuff that Jerry was doing in BB10. Like, by the way, there's this super old guy on the show. I was like, this is fascinating. But I never like picked it up and watched it until a couple of years later when a friend was like, this is my obsession. You have to see what this is. You have to witness it. And they were right. And I've never stopped since.
God, I would love to talk to somebody who produced The Soup back then, like in that era of what the amount of reality TV you'd have to watch, but also like you were given almost too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like Flavor of Love, Bad Girls Club, Big Brother, Survivor, like and all of the E shows. Like
there was,
and I can't believe it's on E. That's the funniest part.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird like symbiosis because Joel McHale was like on the same network making fun of like the Kardashians and I used to watch, there was like a Playboy Bunny Wives of what are they called?
Not like, oh my God, I'm gonna
I can't remember it. But
Playboy Mansion reality show.
Like
Kendra, I also watched this show.
Holly,
The Girls Next Door.
The Girls Next Door. Yeah, I watched a lot of that. I mean, I was a 14-year-old boy, so there was that.
Okay, but I also watched a lot of that. I don't know why. I think I was just fascinated. I think there was this like pink and feather era of reality TV where you're watching Paris Hilton, you're watching the Girls Next Door, and you're like, I don't know, but I guess when I want to grow up to be an adult, I want to be this. I want to be the wrong message to take away from it. But wow, what a show. God, that's a great callback.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was watching like total trash reality shows. And then, BB12 was my introduction to like proper competition based reality shows. And it was like a whole new world. I'm like, oh, they've been doing this for a while. I just didn't really know about it.
Have you ever turned the Survivor or Amazing Race leaf, or are you a purist?
I have watched a lot of Survivor, but I'm like total casual with it. I think the problem is that there are twice as many seasons as Big Brother, like just from a number standpoint, not episodes. Cause like a season of Big Brother is like, from an episode count, is like 3 seasons worth of Survivor. So like catching up on it is not really as much of a time commitment, but it's like, there are just so many people and groups of people to remember that I've always just kind of treated it like a casual. I'm like, oh yeah, that one season where they did this. So yeah, I really lean on like Peridium videos to get like all that expert knowledge on stuff like that.
So let's, I think, talk about the very first video you did and why you did it. What like was the what was the light bulb that goes off in your head that says like, I should make a video, I should put this out there, I really want to talk about this, and I think I have enough content to talk about?
Mhm. Yeah, so my first video was called "Awkward Field Trips Outside the Big Brother House," and it was all about the random examples of house guests leaving the house in order to do well, the five I covered were like Caleb, Frankie, and Christine at the Dallas Cowboys training camp. Like that's bizarre. Just like seeing the people from the show interacting with like Coach
Didn't they meet
Jerry
Tony
Jones
Romo or
or
something
yeah,
ridiculous like that?
Tony Romo shows up, which like my theory was that he knew he was going to be working for CBS. Like after his career was over, he's like, okay, I need to go say hi to people from Big Brother because that show is related to the boss, you know, because back when Moonves was still there and all that. But yeah, like I talked about that. I talked about Danielle and Amber from Big Brother 8 going on Power of 10, the Drew Carey game show that was short lived.
That you know is something I watched that season all the way through, and those are just things where like you just miss it, and or you don't really see, like you. That was so funny, that clip in particular, when especially Amber
of all people
of
to
all
like
people to
to
leave the
be the
house.
representative of the house. Yeah.
Yeah, that incredible.
Yeah, something I found out while working on that video is that Matt Hoffman from Big Brother 12 was also on that show. He was a contestant like for like 4 minutes a couple of years before he was ever on Big Brother. So I found that and it's hilarious. But yeah, I love doing that video because I just love the weirdness of random celebrities interacting with these house guests who we know so well. But then also just sort of seeing the inner machinations of like CBS cross promotional stuff. Like, you know, CBS got Thursday Night Football, so they're shipping, you know, 3 people from the house out to the training camp. Or, you know, Drew Carey has a new game show. We got to send some people over there. So, like, just seeing this machinery of like using the house guests as free labor to do like advertising for new CBS shows. I'm like, that's fascinating. And it's something I love to see, like how transparent it is. Like they're literally just using these people to try to get the viewing audience to like hop over to another show. And it never really works. All the
No,
shows
it
they
doesn't.
promote are just garbage.
I mean, I think that's like I think it's a really funny start, because then you talk about the celebrities who come into the house in a later video, which is so ridiculous. But CBS is at the end of the day like this corporate monstrosity. I almost think about it like those like giant robots that fight in like Pacific Rim sometimes, but that they're just desperately trying to engage one audience with another, and it feels like meeting your cousins from another side of the family that you've never met before, where you're like, I don't know who you are and I don't have to like you. And
Mhm.
that's what it feels like sometimes, where why are you here? Especially the Big Brother people who are, nowadays they might become an influencer, but back then we're not
Right.
going anywhere after the show unless they were
Exactly.
really popular. We're not a thing was happening with them
Yeah,
after
unless you're
they
Dr.
left
Will, you
us.
don't really get any bookings or like, you know, occasionally some people have gone on to do other TV things like, you know, Chef Joe was on Cutthroat Kitchen, you know, if there's like the occasional example like that. But yeah, like the celebrities going in the house was one of my favorite videos to do because like Big Brother is inherently like a weird concept. It's like this house with 1,000 cameras. And like as fans, we get it. We've understood it. We've gotten past that initial like, oh, what a crazy setup. But like then to just kind of like push David Hasselhoff through the door, like, hey, go check this out. And he has no idea what's going on. He's like, so do you guys like, do guys and girls share rooms? And it's like, well, yeah, like, don't be weird about it, man. So I just love these conversations of like, in the spirit of advertising a CBS show, we're also seeing David Hasselhoff just kind of like surmise what it is Big Brother is, like trying to figure it out in the moment. And it's great that we have just like this little 4-minute segment on this one episode of Big Brother 13 to like have that moment. And then you never think about it again, but
Yeah.
it's great.
So let's let's dive into the process, right? The actual way that you're making videos, because this is where I am the most like fixated on having watched all your stuff, because not only is there a whole video essay, not only are there all these little clips and hilarious joke clips that you have like pulled from the recesses of your brain to put in, there's also incredible music and incredible graphics. So we're starting at the very beginning. We're starting about writing. How are you writing a video? Is it just making a script at first? Is it watching a season or watching these clips back to think about what to write about? Where does the writing process begin?
Yeah, so it's a little different for every video, but for some, step one is just like, say, when I did my video on banner planes, I'm like, okay, well, there are very specific moments in the show's history that I just need to gather up. So, like, I went through Big Brother 1, which was a first for me, like just gathering moments where these banner planes were flying overhead, and they included it on the episode. Um, Screen capping all of that stuff, assembling it, and then once I have all of it, that's when the writing kind of starts. Usually just in chunks of like, here's a point I want to make, but I don't know when I'm going to make it, but I know it needs to follow like this clip of Chicken George like saying something, So it's a lot of like doing little spurts of here's 30 seconds of the video I know want to exist, but it's going to take a while to figure out where it's going to go and in what order it all goes in. So yeah, my writing process is a lot of back and forth between having a couple sentences in my head, recording them, hearing how they sound when matched up with video. And then as it kind of starts to form longer and longer sections, then I have to go through and like, okay, well, that transition is super awkward. And I have to like figure out how to string it together a little better. So yeah, it's a long process. And like last year, I only had like 2 YouTube videos because I like to really take time and make sure
Yeah.
that if you're going to be watching a 30, 40 hour long video, like I want it to be worthwhile, where it's a mixture of like reminding you things that you already know about, like you've seen older seasons, you remember this stuff, but trying to give you that nostalgia factor and then think a little critically, even though we're talking about something like super dumb, like Jeremy Piven in the Big Brother house, but like kind of being able to present something, remind you about it, and then get a little discoursey with it. But yeah, I come from a world of I was a history major in high school, or in college, so I did a lot of just archival stuff, having to find little tidbits and then assembling it together in an essay about something. So that's kind of where my style has directly led me to this.
So when you find, I'm so curious about like I was just watching the Dolphin crash video back, and just being able to pull not only clips from the relevant sort of, let's say, season or content you're talking about, but then just pulling clips from anywhere. Like there's just a clip of Zach Rance screaming, which I'm sure is not hard to find. I'm sure you could just go, BB Zach screaming. But where do you feel like you have a Rolodex of like these silly moments, or are you watching full episodes back and then being like, oh, there's like a goofy out of context bit? Where do these sort of almost what's a good word for them? Like not transitions, but sort of oh my god,
what is the word for it?
Non sequitur kind of moments. Like
Mm-hmm.
where are those coming into play in the edit? Are they in writing, or are they much later when you're actually piecing it together?
Yes, it's about half and half. It's like sometimes I think of a clip right away. I'm like, well, I definitely know. Like in the Dolphin crash video, I knew it was going to be that clip of him explaining his trip to the like sex convention or whatever it was he was talking about. He's like, oh, these women are like getting beat up, and everyone's just like horrified. I'm like, well, that's clearly going to be a big moment in the video because everyone's horrified expressions are just like, oh my God, what is he talking about? So I'll think of stuff like that, like quickly. And then other things come up like towards the end of the process. Like I'll be 90% done with a video and I'll just think of like a stupid joke or a stupid Big Brother clip to use. And you mentioned like a Rolodex, and that's kind of what the work has created the longer I've done it. You guys know that I run this Twitter account called BB No Context,
Yes.
which is just sort of was birthed from all of these like non sequitur kind of clips I used. And now it's kind of become my biggest footprint online. So I'm quite proud of it. But but yeah, there are so many episodes of Big Brother, like at least 20 per season. In recent years, it's like 40. Over 25 seasons plus celebrity plus OTT plus, there's just all this content. And though a lot of us are experts on it, we can forget about those little moments that are just buried deep on like a super boring episode.
Yeah.
I'll just have Big Brother episodes up kind of at random throughout the day while I'm working on stuff. And then I'll just kind of hear something like, the way he said that was really strange. And then I'll go back and I'm like, okay, that's a perfect clip for either a video or a Twitter post or both. So yeah, by this point, I've got like an insane spreadsheet and like tracker system for like things that happen in various episodes.
Fantastic. Oh my God. Great. Let's talk about the spreadsheet. Well, first I want to know, when you're recording it, how are you recording? Are you just screen recording? Because like just screen recording and then clipping it, or are you clipping it from an episode, like a larger file?
Yeah. Well, right now, so I have a Mac, so I do like the screen recording utility on Mac. There's probably a better way to do it, or like a fancier way of like if you had a capture card or something. But the way I've done it is I just screen record, and I have this like utility where it can also grab the audio from what you're watching.
Yeah.
Then I like convert it to 30 FPS because when you're doing screen recording, it can get like really weird and jumpy because the frame rate like jumps all over the place. I don't know if this is too in the weeds, but
please, this is exactly the weeds I want to be.
Yeah. So like for a video, say there are like some scenes that are like huge chunks of like those banner plane segments. It would be like 10 minutes of an episode about Nicole's husband is like mad about the stuff that happened in the house. So like I'll like record that entire thing and then in Premiere chop it up and find like the moments I want to use. But then other times it's just like one-off little moments.
Let's talk about this next. So are you screen recording every clip that I see in a video? Like you don't have any files downloaded or anything like that?
No, unfortunately not. Which I think is maybe part of what takes me so fucking long to do all this. What I want to do, and I don't know the best way to accomplish it, but I want like the full series like downloaded and put on like an external hard drive or something where I can just instantly go to an episode, grab the thing I need, and it's like already there. One, I could stop paying for Paramount Plus that way. Which I've given so much money in like the 8 years I've signed up for them. So
wow. Oh gee.
But yeah, like I think if I had like a fancier computer, fancier setup, I would like find these ways to like be able to do it more quickly. But for now, it's very manual. I've got this combination of like my own internal notes and spreadsheets about things, and then I go and find the clip, and it's pretty fast, but it could be better for sure.
Well, I think what some people maybe don't like know is, so you can torrent the season of maybe Big Brother or Survivor, certainly, but those files, you need, well, first of all, VLC player to play them. They don't work well in Premiere on your Mac, like MKV files.
They're a nightmare. Yeah.
Like, so you could have all of them torrented and open them, but then you'd have to spend all that time converting them, which I sure as shit don't want to do. So anyway, that's, if anyone's like, well, you could just torrent the whole thing, I want to say, no, it's
you would still need
a
shit ton of hard drive space. And you'd have to do a lot of like converting, because otherwise, like I get everything at 30 FPS because that's what I'm going to upload to on YouTube. And it makes the file smaller once you do that. It's just the initial setup of like screen recording. Like say I did a recording of an entire episode, then that'd be like 4 gigs or 5 gigs or something. And then I'd have to convert it. And then that would have taken like 2 hours to do. And that's one episode of a show that has like 800 episodes. So I don't really know the best process other than like, maybe I could just start with a season, see how long it takes me, and build out like an official archive. I need to do that for Big Brother OTT because I'm always afraid it's just going to disappear one day.
I have it bookmarked. When you're like, here's how you watch it, I was like, great, I'm bookmarking this and I'm never letting it go. No, thank you.
Every time they talk about like, Paramount Plus is going to like change, or it's going to be combined with I can't remember what they're saying. Well, not Showtime, but the
yeah, like all the mergers they threatened.
yeah, all the mergers and stuff. I'm like, at some point in this process, they're gonna, you know, link up these systems, and they're like, let's just delete this one. I don't even know what it is. It only has like 4,000 views. I don't know how many people watched OTT, but it's not a huge amount.
Yeah, I like the idea of them, you know, there are dozen of us OTT fans that will riot in the CBS Paramount lot if they delete it from, from their website. Okay, so the spreadsheet. When did you start the spreadsheet? Was it during a creation of one vid? Like, was it with you from the very beginning, I should say, or did it start as you started acquiring more clips? Do you have? And also, this is the next question: how are you categorizing your clips when you're screen recording and then holding on to them for no context or whatever you might use them for?
Yeah, so it kind of started in multiple types of spreadsheets. Like the main one that I'm still kind of working on is just like a episode listing of every season, every episode, with like 4 to 5 bullet point summaries of like, this is the episode that Kaser wins HOH and puts up these people, and there's a segment on like Jennifer being, you know, missing her mom. These are made up examples, but you know, like trying to just like get the big picture items and then kind of go down to smaller things, so that when I come across like you know, a celebrity visitor, for example, I would like make a note of that. And so as I started forming these like categories of things, I'm like, well, I could just do an entire video on banner plane stuff or celebrity visitors or these like hometown segment interviews they do, you know, like, so it kind of started as just like wanting to have a big searchable database of like literally every minute of the show, and it's morphed into so many different things. Another thing I'm working on is like matching up the date of like something happening with like the day in the Big Brother house. So say someone was evicted on day 14. What day of the week was that? And is there like a way to put like an archive link to Joker's updates from that particular day of live feeds? Because all of that stuff still exists online. So like trying to do things like that where I can easily be like, if I read something on the BB Wiki that's like, oh, on day 37, this happened, I can instantly go, okay, that was around then. That's going to be episode 14 of the season, you know, like match it up with both the show and like the live feed clips that you can find online. So it's a lot.
God, that's so much. And then how are you categorizing your clips? Like, you know, let's say you're screen recording something from BB8. It's completely out of context. Are you just leaving it as a screen recording? Are you naming it like BB8, Dick Donato tells somebody to fuck off for the millionth time? Like, what's the naming convention and the way you're keeping track of everything?
Yeah, like I have my internal system is just every file is like 8.12, so season 8 episode 12, and then 3 or 4 words that kind of describe what's going on. I remember like way before I had BB No Context, back in my Tumblr era, I posted there's like this moment where Evil Dick is talking with like Eric and Jamaica about nominations, and he just gets up and he like farts in the other room. It's like disgusting, but I had that file saved as like dickfart.mp4, and Tumblr like shut down my account for 2 days because they thought I was uploading porn. Which is like hilarious.
Oh no. God, I mean, sometimes that is what Big Brother is, but not all, you know,
not always.
You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't. Oh, Tumblr. Remember when Tumblr had no rules? That was the best.
I mean, you know, it's still kind of like the Wild West. Like there are still people on there just doing weird stuff, which I appreciate.
Another question I have is, when you are making a video like this and then you have to consume outside media, I think about like, you know, all the I watched Quentin review some of my favorite videos. His
I like a lot of his stuff.
When he finally got to sort of the end of Sam and Cat, and then he talked about Frankie Grande for a while, and I was like, God, what a fucking weird career this man has had. To go from Big Brother to Nickelodeon, I think, is a very impressive feat, and I don't know how he got past censors, frankly. But
Frankly.
when you're making a video and you sort of need outside context or you need to watch something else, are you consuming a lot of it, or are you just trying to find the more relevant parts and then bring it into the video? Like Power of 10, like
right. Yeah, I think I'm just generally like really fascinated by pop culture history in general. So a lot of it is informed by YouTubers that I watch. Like you're saying, Quentin Reviews, or I watch a lot of Jenny Nicholson. H Bomber Guy, of course, is having his big moment right now. And I really like their ability to pull in things happening in context. So I'm always on the lookout for like, is there something that's relevant to Big Brother? And I think that's why I've done a lot of videos that end up touching other stuff in pop culture like that. Like I think it was my first video I talked about how like Allison Grodner produced like a live concert stream thing for Taylor Swift. I'm like, that's so bizarre to think about. Like Allison Grodner, who we know and love, who guides us through this every summer, she's also like working with Taylor Swift. I'm like, that's so bizarre. So I'm like really fascinated when things go beyond the Big Brother bubble, which is important because the house is literally on the CBS lot. So you're going to get some like moments of interaction like that, like Kathy Griffin showing up for a couple seasons and Bobby Moynihan just like asking if he could be on the show. Like, please let me go make fun of like Raven to her face.
That stuff is so, oh my God. There's this great, what I loved about the video you made is there's this intersection of like celebrities who genuinely wanted to be there. Like Neil Patrick Harris is like, get me in there. I need to become friends with Dr. Will right now, which I respect, because if you see somebody, like, that's the beauty of reality TV. You're like, wow, I think I'd be friends with that person. And if you're famous enough, yeah, go ahead, shoot your shot.
And it's like this weird kind of reversal of roles where Neil Patrick Harris is like, I feel like I won a contest. I get to be around Chicken George and Dr. Will. And it's like, no, this usually works the other way around, but like in this context.
Versus the juxtaposition of the celebrities who are like held up at gunpoint to do a video that's going to be shared.
What is this? Like, I don't know what this is. Yeah, so that's why I structured that video of like celebrities who were fans and wanted to be there, celebrities who have no idea what's going on. And was there a third category? I can't remember. I need to watch my own videos to remember some of the stuff. But like Sheryl Crow is forever my favorite example because I think she was, from what I've read at least, she was a fan those first few early years. And she's like at the height of her popularity. And she's like, yeah, I want to go perform a concert there. I'm like, that's great. That's so fascinating. Like nowadays, we don't really have anything like that. Like BB24, they kept talking about how Rihanna's a fan. I'm not convinced. Like I've heard that she likes it, but I'm like, how long ago was it? And is she still an active fan? Because if it was just from some thing that happened like 8 years ago, I don't know if she's still like watching every episode, guys.
Yeah, I also, especially, let's just break, Survivor, right? There's celebrities who are fans of Survivor. Survivor is once a week. It's a digestible 60 or now 90 minutes. And then it's over and then the season is done. Big Brother is like the 3-hour-long episodes. Do you think Rihanna has time to watch 3-hour-long episodes each week? I don't even watch every episode each.
I don't even think Julie watches the show. So like Rihanna's definitely not watching it.
Rihanna did a Super Bowl halftime show. You think she's watching Big Brother?
She's
while
out
she's
of the orbit
of
our sphere of influence. But yeah, it's like it's such more of a time commitment, and the more of a fan you are, the more you can sink into it because of live feeds or just generally being on the internet for 3 months, doing discourse all day, every day, just absorbing all of the content that we're barraged with. So yeah, like I think that's what interested me with that celebrity visitors video, is that there are some celebrities who are legitimately fans. I don't know how strong of a fan they are, but they're at least familiar enough with this weird format and this weird concept of a show that they're like, oh yeah, I like this. So, very cool.
It is, and I still think my favorite celebrity, like I still love all the Gronk's like party things, because Gronk wasn't really associated with CBS all that much, right? Like, what was it? It was that he.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm trying to remember, because he was still playing for the Patriots then. Did all of the Patriots games come on CBS?
Or was it that wasn't he doing a cruise or something?
Yeah. Gronk's party cruise is a favorite topic of mine. I don't know how it came to be.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think if anybody is wondering, they should watch the video. Right?
Yeah, they should.
You'll explain it better.
And I brought it up again in my product placement video just because, like, clearly he was just there to sell this thing, but it was retrofitted to the BB takeover twist, which is still a big question mark. Like, what was that? Because it was just Phil from The Amazing Race, and then Kathy Griffin, and then Gronk. Like, the Gronk one is so like, and now for our grand finale, Gronk is trying to sell tickets to a cruise. And the cruise did happen. Meg from BB17 went on the cruise. There used to be like a YouTube video that she uploaded of her experience on it, but it's since gone private, and I'm so sad. I think I watched it back in the day, but I would just love to get more like firsthand account of what happened on that cruise. I mean, it has nothing to do with Big Brother at that point, but the fact that it was advertised on Big Brother means I need to know like everything about it. I need to know who was there. From what I've read, it was like a little bizarre because like half of the people on the ship were part of the Gronk experience and the other half were just normal families. So they're just around all these like insane people drinking and stuff. Like, that's amazing.
They did the Real Love Boat, right? And wasn't that also taking place on an actual cruise ship where I believe it was like there was a cruise ship and then also the CBS reality show, The Real Love Boat, was happening.
Like on the same ship.
Were interwoven together.
Yeah, I guess cruise ships are like so huge that like there's no way they could just do like this whole boat is just CBS fans. They're like, nah, we don't have that kind of pull to book the entire ship, but we can at least get a big chunk of tickets, hopefully. So yeah, I guess that's how that came to be. Is Gronk shows up on a lot of TV here and there. I don't know if he has a specific relationship with CBS, but I was watching old episodes of Shark Tank from around that same time, and he showed up. One of his brothers had a product that they were trying to sell. So yeah, I think he's just he knows his brand is like memorable and can like hold sway in like a TV environment. So yeah, he was game to do a little Big Brother segment. Thank God, because it changed my life forever.
So back to the creative process, right? Back to the creative process. You've written a script, you've got your ideas, you're collecting video footage. Are you narrating as you go? Are you building it like section at a time, or are you trying to? Because in my mind, it's either you record everything all at once, you try and slap it together, and then you listen to it and you're like, that was bad, I'll re-record that. Or are you doing it sort of piece by piece to almost like add Legos to the tower until it's all of a sudden done?
Yeah, it's definitely giving Lego.
It's giving Lego Masters. It's giving Will Arnett.
Speaking of Will Arnett pouring ice water on Julie Chen is like one of those enduring images that made me want to start making videos. Side note. Yeah, but it's definitely like that sort of write some stuff, try it out, record it, see how it sounds, and then constantly kind of rebuild and redo things. Especially towards the end of the process, I start adding things like background music. I do like a mixture of, I have my own like versions of like Big Brother music tracks, but like done in like a Nintendo-y like chip tunes kind of style.
Oh yeah.
I put those like in moments of the video or in the background. And then I also use like stuff that's available in the YouTube studio, like just like the royalty-free music, that a lot of like synth wave type music, because it gets you excited for some types of things
in the YouTube studio. So are you adding it in post, like when you're uploading the file?
No, I download the MP3s
Okay.
from
I just
YouTube.
had like a panic attack. I was like, I'm
Like,
sorry.
please don't do that.
You're putting in the music after the entire video is done in the
No.
YouTube Studio Creator?
No, that would be a nightmare because these videos are so long. Like it just like my browser would crash. But no, yeah, like I find like the songs I like the usually going by like genre or something, and then kind of assemble them. I have a big folder of them on my computer, and then I drag them into the videos. But as you're doing that, like once you have sort of a backing track and you hear it matched up with your own speaking voice, you're like, oh, I need to like say this differently. Like I need, or my voice needs to be like a little higher pitched or something to kind of match the like fucking pulsating drums I've put underneath it. So it's a little bit of like mixing and matching like elements like that and hearing it closer to the final version. And then once it's all assembled like that, I do like a final recording of everything. And then helps it sound a little more natural. But even in that final recording process, I'll still sometimes like change a sentence here and there. I'm like, okay, I'm like saying the same thing twice in a row, and I just need to combine that sentence. So there's lots of that. It's just, it's amazing. I can spend like 4 or 5 months on a video and then like completely change like a conclusion, like 4 hours before I upload it. I'm like, what am I doing? But it's kind of fun to work that way because you need those little moments of being able to kind of capture the improvisation of it and not be too in your head and too scripted. So that's part of what I'm trying to do more of, like be open to just kind of doing things on the fly like that.
This is just going to be a fun fact for anybody who's listening. I work in TV, and one of the things that happens is if there's a show, if you're watching a TV show with voiceover, let's say like a show hosted by like a travel show hosted by a person, or like a show where there's narration, a lot of the time before that final recording gets in there, they will have the editor or the producer record a scratch track. So instead of, your famous toast, it'll be some guy being like, today I'm going to this place to check out some amazing food. And it's so funny to hear not the host be like, it's me, the host of the show, going to take you to the favorite spot. And that's just, a great, I love the roughness of a rough cut, because it can be whatever you want it to be. It's not going out there. It's just for you to take in your product and tweak it.
Yeah. And I think it's super helpful for any type of like TV, like, or YouTube videos. Like the same principle applies, because it's like you need to hear it in a way that's close to what it's going to be at the end, but you just need to at least hear it once, like in context of like all the visual components and the audio and stuff, before you can really like say, okay, this is what it needs to be. Like you need to do those final adjustments, like seeing it in real time.
So let's talk about the music. You hinted at it. It's one of, when I was watching your videos, because I was directed to you from our amazing, lovely friend McCrae. For I don't want to humble brag, but did you watch BB15? No? Okay, don't. I
have a lot of friends on the most hated cast of Big Brother history. Not the bad ones though.
No, right, exactly. No, McCrae is so fun, and he was such a big supporter of yours. And I watched it. I was like, I gotta be honest, I don't even really like Big Brother that much. I like the older stuff. I think nowadays it makes me want to smack my head against a wall. But there's such the things that you clearly like about the pop culture and the weird vibes that Big Brother gives off. I like that analysis so much too. So I was so drawn to your stuff. But the music and the graphics that you make are incredible, and I think just take it to a whole other level. So you're making this 8-bit chiptune music of. Can I play some right now? We're gonna hear some.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
This is fascinating for me to.
It's not going to be here because I'm going to do it in post, but it will be playing at some point. So I'm sure you've heard it a million times. I don't think you need to hear it anymore. So what inspired you to start making music like that? Like to turn these themes and turn them into this chiptune sort of audio?
Yeah. Well, one is I'm just a huge nerd, so I love stuff like that. Like a lot of times when when I'm writing or just working on stuff in general, I have like relaxing Nintendo music, 20 hours, like those types of videos playing.
Yeah, I'll be there in solidarity with you. I listen to a lot of the Steven Universe background music.
Oh yes, that's a great example. Oh,
that
again.
Well, somebody, okay, listen, I don't know if a real scientist said this or the internet said this, but they said that video game music and cartoon music pushes you forward because it's music that's designed to like get you to the next point. And somebody has a playlist of Steven Universe music on SoundCloud, and I listen to it when I'm working.
Exactly.
Can't do lyrics music.
And like it loops in a nice way that's like it can be as long as you need it to while you're doing a certain thing. I think that's kind of when I first started like working on this stuff. In my mind, Big Brother music is very video game like. Just in terms of like how the songs are created. They're all pretty similar like musically. Like there's like the little string components and like these sort of like tension building like motifs, I guess is the word. So I'm like, well, if I just take all of these melodies that are super simple and instead of it being violin hit or whatever, it could just be my little Super Nintendo beep sound. So just sort of retrofitting like all this music that already creates. And then I just kind of listen through it, match it up with what I'm hearing and kind of recreate the song and then just sub out the instruments for these more video game sounding things. And it's just fun for me from like an aesthetic point of view. Like I've always done like a little bit of music creation as like a side hobby. And then more recently I started trying to do the pixel art stuff. Just because it's really simplistic, and you can just do a little bit of work and it starts to look like super nice. So when I would do things like I'd make like a pixel art version of the Big Brother backyard, I'm like, this looks like a little video game level. And then you put this music on top of it. I'm like, I've created a little fake like video game reality version of the Big Brother house. And it's nice. I think a lot of people enjoy it for that nostalgia kind of vibe that it gives, even though it's like these seasons I'm talking about are from like maybe mid 2000s at the earliest, but like this is like music from like the 1990s, so it's a little mismatched, but it's just the type of stuff I like listening to, and it works for what it is.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned like that the Big Brother music is a little bit video gamey because it has to vamp, right? It has to, you want music that will be able to loop as long as possible in case something goes wrong, in case a house guest talks too much, whatever. And I do think that the Big Brother live shows are heavily supported by music to make up for how uncomfortable the entire thing is.
Yeah,
Awful.
if you don't have music, then it sounds like Big Brother 1, which is just awkward at all times, just like, this is uncomfortable. So yeah, you need that sort of like reminder that it's like this dramatic game. And I think the live vote music has always been like a huge highlight for me. And I had a Patreon video a few months ago where I went through and I took the old live vote music and I recreated it in using the GoldenEye N64 sound font. So like it's all these like super like these like kind of drum beats that are very like late 90s, but it almost sounds like the song was originally written that way. So I feel like I didn't even transform it that much. I just slightly changed the instruments to this like N64 sound, and it works perfect because it sounds like this dramatic build up that can loop as long as it needs to. Like you have 14 people come in and vote and it's playing the whole time and it keeps that tension going. So yeah, I love stuff like that. So
from a music perspective, I guess, how are you converting this song? Because I'm like I don't want to say like that I'm really good at music because I'm not anymore, but I was at one point in my life. So are you finding sheet music? Are you taking the audio files and then separating them out by each different, what's the word, like
instrument? Yeah,
instrument and like layer? Are you just transposing by ear? How are you creating that?
Yeah, it's sort of a mixture of things. On YouTube sometimes you can find like uploaded versions of some of the Big Brother tracks without any audio, like just the original songs, like how it sounds when, you know, it's exported as an MP3. But you don't have the luxury on all songs. So
Yeah.
for some of them, I've had to literally just take a recording from an episode, and like Julie's talking over it. And I'm like trying to like work on top of that same recording, and like hearing whispers in the background. It's a little chaotic. But for me, like, I'm not like classically musically trained at all. So like I can look at sheet music and be like, okay, I see what's happening there, but I don't have any like I can't play piano from like reading sheet music. I'm not like that. I'm mostly like a guitar player, so um, that doesn't really require like that level of expertise. You just kind of figure out things. So a lot of it is just like by ear, like lining up a song from the show. I work in Logic, which is like a music creation software. Really, it's just a process of figuring out the BPM of a track, like how many beats per minute, and then lining it up on your thing. And then, I just go through layer by layer, like, okay, the drums sound like the, and then this comes in, and it builds from there. And because that's what I meant when I said the music of the show is kind of video game like, because a lot of them are very like loop based, of like, here's a little melody and then you add like a drum thing and then you add this other instrument on top of it, and just kind of builds like that. So from my perspective, when I start making a song like that, I just have to figure out the drums. Okay, that's like 10 seconds of audio that I now works for the entire 3 minutes of the song, and then the little bass line, and then you just kind of go through and add everything by ear, and hopefully the end result sounds like what you're going for.
I think looping is under. I don't think people realize maybe when they're watching the show how necessary looping is. Like when you watch any sort of scene in Big Brother, they usually have like a time goal. Hey, the veto segment should be no more than 3 minutes long. But if you're going to play the veto meeting song underneath the entire segment, maybe it's not an entire 3-minute song.
Yeah, it doesn't play from start to finish. Yeah.
Right. But it's got loops built into it. So if I put 3 veto meeting songs back to back, it loops perfectly into one another. So that's what makes this music kind of perfect to create in a video game style. It's like, it's just going to keep and put it on repeat. Here we go. Like another round of veto meeting, please.
Yeah, and like if you listen to some of those songs that are used like every week like that, like the nomination music, you'll hear those little transition points, especially now with how the nomination ceremony works. Like they turn the little key and then they show up on the screen. Like now, it used to be like a longer song of them turning keys on the key wheel, and it would, it was like this gradually building kind of thing. But now that the ceremony has changed, when the faces show up on the screen, you'll hear like this little drum part kick in, and it's a little awkward on the ear, like compared to how it used to sound. But from what I understand, that's how the editors of the show work. Like they have sort of versions of the song kind of existing with however many layers they need at that point. And then when it's time, like, okay, once the nominations have been revealed, this part of the song begins. So the people on the show actually have those like different like versions of the song that they can kind of like transition into each other, which is fascinating.
So you're making these animations as well. Let's break these down in their way. So first of all, when you talked about the video game Big Brother Backyard, I was like, what if we put the Big Brother Backyard in the metaverse? What if we bring it to be? But no, I was thinking about all the wonderful transitions that you do. How are you designing them? Especially because, you're talking about your background being in history and then, you have a little bit of music experience. Where does the graphic design, you know what I mean? Like this jack of all trades shit. Where is this coming from? And how complicated was it to learn this design? Are you doing it in After Effects? Where are you making it? Photoshop?
Yeah. So I guess like from a background perspective, it's like I have a degree in history, but I work in marketing, not really on the graphic design part, but I've done that in the past, like doing like basic, like pretty minimal graphic design, like asset creation type stuff. Like I'm not like the type that has like a art degree and knows how to fully use Photoshop to the best of their abilities. But I'm learning every day. Like if I think of an idea for a video, it usually starts with me just looking up on YouTube, like how does one do this in Premiere or Adobe After Effects, and how can I accomplish that? So it's a learning process too. Um, for like the pixel art stuff, yeah, I just started learning that somewhat recently. And then I figure out like what's possible with my skill level. So it's pretty basic stuff. On the OTT video, I did like this recreation of the little photo wall that they would like press to mark people safe. So I just like recreated that because it's just like a bunch of boxes with pictures in them. I'm like, okay, that's easy enough. And then I put it all in Premiere and then it zooms in. It's pretty simple editing from like what's going on. But it works, you know. It just took a little bit of finagling of like, how could I represent the OTT cast in a way that like would be kind of fun and cool looking. And so that's what I came up with.
Well, let's talk about them. Let's talk about our faves, the OTT cast. I have to say, I watched your video and I had heard about OTT for a long time. Like as like a challenge viewer, I knew who the Willette sisters were.
Oh, right. Yeah. See, I don't watch the challenge and I forget that some of them actually did some other TV appearances. So
well,
fun.
I knew who Jason was, and I knew who the Willette sisters were because all of a sudden she shows up and she's like, "Yeah, I won Big Brother," and you're like, "Who?" But OTT is such a fascinating look, I think, because here's my sort of larger theory is Big Brother is a show that knows it's not that good, so it is always constantly trying to find the thing that would make it go viral or be the most popular, because Survivor, the format is very tried and true. Now Jeff Probst can, get high and come up with a crazy idea, but for Big Brother, it's much more, I don't know what we need to do. How do we get people's attention all summer? What are we trying here? And I think that BBOTT was a fascinating attempt at like, well, it seems like people really like the live feeds and it seems like people really want to see what's going on. What if we let them see everything that's going on? And I think they realized that was a bad idea from a protect yourself network side of things. But a fascinating idea from a viewer perspective. So what makes you such a fan of Big Brother Over the Top?
Yeah, I think it's
I guess we should explain it for anyone who doesn't know what BB
is. How does one explain Big Brother Over the Top?
It's an enigma.
It kind of came out of nowhere. It was like towards the tail end of BB 18, they announced that they were going to do this special fall season that was going to start literally a week after the BB 18 finale. Like, we're going right into this. And it's not going to be on TV. You have to sign up for this CBS All Access thing, which was pretty bold of them to do in 2016. Like, at that point, people were streaming stuff, but not in the way that they are now, where it's like completely taken over our lives. So like, to get people to pay for a premium CBS streaming service was kind of wild in 2016. And I think that's why I love it, because it was so like, we're going to embrace the live feed experience to a ludicrous degree, in the sense that like, there's an episode every week, but it's so far, like, you'd be so far behind if you weren't watching live feeds. Like they would have like daily recaps. It almost was like them doing what Rob Has a Podcast does. Like there's like daily sort of like recaps and information, and then it leads up to that week's eviction, and there's like more interspersed content. But if their goal was to get a bunch of the casuals to like hop on board and pay, whatever it was, $6-7 a month, it was doomed from the beginning, really, to like never get off the ground. But I really respect that they tried in the middle of an insane election season too, which is obviously the other part of it. That was like, what an insane time to be alive it was.
My God, I just like hearing that context in particular is like, oh my God, like I didn't realize that, the Stan Wars were so bad. Listen, we lived through the Core America Wars of 2023, and even that's nothing compared.
Those are mild and milquetoast compared to the insanity. Yeah. And I think a big emphasis in a lot of my videos has been trying to archive and preserve a lot of this online community component of Big Brother, because it is such a huge part of the show. And I also try to uncover that for seasons I wasn't watching back in the day, like just trying to see what the community was thinking about like Big Brother 3. It's hard to find that stuff, but it can be found. So with OTT, it was like that was such a huge part of the story. So if you were to watch OTT now for the first time, it would be a little strange not having all of that context surrounding it of like, yeah, this split house is intense. And also the fan base itself was split, and it was like literal war. Like it was unlike probably most seasons that I've been a part of. Like nothing really comes close to that. But also because it was a smaller audience, it was like those of us who were around were the ones who were extremely dedicated and very opinionated. And to me, it just felt like, wow, Big Brother could be like this all of the time. I don't know if that would be a good thing, but in this moment, it felt like this rush of energy that is hard to describe, really.
Yeah, I just have a theory that if Big Brother was like the fan wars of BBOTT every year, that it would bring about like a nuclear Armageddon. I can't say why I think that, but that's just how I feel a little bit when it comes to the Stan wars.
There's trauma. There's real trauma. And I think that was a lot of the reaction to that video I put out was like, man, rethinking, just thinking about some of the stuff, like, I can't believe how insane it got. So my hope was that I would get people interested in this like forgotten season, and maybe they'd kind of like seek it out, they'd watch it, they'd understand where the fan base was at that moment and why it was that way. And just sort of like preserve that, because otherwise OTT is like hidden from Paramount Plus. Like you can't really find it. It's like got this like mythological kind of reputation. So I'm glad that there are those of us out there who have seen it and enjoyed it for the most part. Or at least to witness it.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a fascinating season. I thought it was really good from like sometimes what I find in modern Big Brother is that it's boring because either somebody is completely in power and there will never be another chance for somebody to usurp or make the house shift in a big impactful way. I think that the beauty of the house split of BBOTT is that it changes every week, and there are these insane heartbreaking vote outs because also is it that America has a vote? What is America's impact on the vote, if I can remember?
It's a lot of things. They nominated the third person every week.
Right.
And they cast an eviction vote. So it's like they're partial HOH and voter. So like extremely OP. Like and then at the end of the game, like they were deciding the winner of the entire thing. So like it was like we were guiding the chaos, and then at the end we would be the ultimate decider of who won. And that, from like to have a split house alongside that mechanic, I think is what created the season dynamic like that, because things would just change completely because, and there was also the care package thing where,
yes.
It's like, say one side is in power. Well, then there's a care package that protects Jason. Okay, well, they can't target Jason now. And then, so it's like just these constant like checks and balances of like the mechanics of the game, the two alliances fighting each other. And then like, in the middle of a double eviction, it looks like one side's like done for. And then it's like, oh, well, they're safe and fuck you guys. And now the whole house like dynamic is done for. Like it was insane. And I could see like people not liking that aspect. Sometimes I agree, but it's like the unpredictability of it was the most refreshing aspect, especially after the fact. It probably contributed to some of the intense emotions of the time, but looking at it in retrospect, I'm like, you don't even know what to expect from episode to episode, like week 3, week 4. There's just there's no real logic to what's happening sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true. Whether it be the players or the production. I mean, I also love things like hearing that Well, because you could watch the challenges as they took place, which I think is such an interesting peeling back of the layers of Big Brother, to just watch the challenge, no music, no edit, no, I walk into the backyard, just like raw, okay, go. And things like Chrissy checking the rule book is so funny to me. All these elements where you never see it on Big Brother, because even though it is supposedly broadcast in its entirety, CBS is still like, technical difficulties, please stand by, because they don't want you to see every little crack that exists in the show. Is there a favorite moment from BBOTT where you can really bear witness to production as production, or just like the game with no frills, like the challenges, like I should say competitions, excuse me.
For competitions specifically. Yeah. I mean, really, I think the boldest thing they did in OTT was that first HOH competition, which was called the BB Bug, I believe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep.
It just starts. And again, this is like, it was right after they did their like swimsuit photo shoot thing in the backyard, which was also on live feeds, which is weird. It was like right after that, they come back in and there's like a potion on the table. It's like, drink this. And they do. And then they're just doing this like game of like one person infects another person over the course of an entire day. And so it gamified the act of watching live feeds. It gamified them all getting to know each other and interacting. And we're just like hanging out, watching them have their little conversations like they do in different rooms of the house. And then someone wearing the little t-shirt would come in and be like, here's your crab thing or whatever it was. Here's that.
Yeah,
now
it did generally look like an STD that they were handing each other.
It's so janky, but it's like, it's so minimal. It's like, there is no competition. It's just this necklace and some t-shirts, and you're just watching it. But it really worked in my mind, because you got to watch this sort of in real time scrambling of like, well, who's going to be the last ones like up for HOH? And they're almost like forming alliances like mid competition. So it's like, yeah, we don't always have to like build something in the backyard. We can do this totally like, I don't know, almost like team building exercise, like in the house. So I loved stuff like that. And then, it carried forward throughout the season, where they would have more traditional like competition elements, but sometimes it would just be like, here's a trivia question and balance on this thing. It was like really no frills. Like we're just doing like a couple of ideas and that's all it takes. But the fact that there were no live feed blackouts during those was fascinating, because you could just watch it in real time. And there wasn't all of this, like, I don't know, post-production of it. Like, I think there's a tendency with like newer Big Brother to be like, over the top is the wrong word, but like extremely like produced, sometimes, especially like looking back at BB25, like the Nether Gorgon competition being this full on, like, it's on a Hollywood set or whatever. And there's this like guy stomping around and people going through portals. It's like, yeah, that's insane. But like back on OTT, they were just like standing on a little pole and that's it. And like, that's so charming. And it really takes you back to like Big Brother 2, like throwing CDs in the pool and stuff. And it's fun to see that both things can work. And maybe the more over the top stuff, or the more highly produced stuff doesn't need to be so produced.
Oh my God. We can't say enough about over the top. Okay. The last stuff I really want to dig into is I want to talk about your cousin Judd. And mostly because I thought it was a fascinating video dissecting archetypes on Big Brother, because Big Brother in particular, Survivor certainly, I think, casts archetypes. And I think what perhaps Survivor fans forget, and maybe what people who watch TV forget, is that I may live on the East Coast. I may have grown up in like my household and have all these like East Coast liberal values that scare, I'm a boogeyman to somebody in Texas. But really, in reality, I think that CBS is trying to encompass the entirety of America and gain viewers from the entirety of our 50 states, right? So it's a huge ask, and you'll create these archetypes, especially in early Survivor and middle Survivor, especially in Big Brother, where you're looking for the audience to look at somebody and say, hey, I think that's me. I feel connected to that person. And then it sort of became like, okay, we should do that, but they should be hot. And then we'll have like one person who's just like 40
we'll have
and shouldn't be here.
one goofy hillbilly in the mix.
But I thought the Judd video was just a wonderful breakdown of archetypes on Big Brother and where they come from and how they evolve over time, especially based on the popularity of a character.
Mm-hmm.
So where did the desire to make the video come from, and the journey you sort of went on? How did that all evolve from just making this video?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, it was like the video I always wanted to make from before I started my channel. Because I mean, I've known about like I could possibly be related to Judd for like a long time. And then so I was like, once I started the channel, I'm like, okay, well, I got to do my Judd video at some point. But I approached it from this element of like, well, I'm from the South, and I have conflicting feelings about that at times. Like it can be a frustrating place to be from. Specifically like where I went to high school, like we're in the congressional district of like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay. Like it's a very conservative like place. So I wanted to kind of like pick apart like depictions of the South and Southerners on TV. Like that's always been kind of a fascinating topic for me. And I'm like, well, Big Brother is a great like case study for that, because they've always done sort of like your standard like hillbilly representation, going back to like Cowboy, Big Brother 5, and it's always like CBS knows like the middle America, they really love these like real relatable types. And that's evolved over time and become different things. So I wanted to kind of track what were Southern characters like in the early days? What are they like now? And then you have this sort of middle point of inflection of like BB15, BB16. The show kind of, I wouldn't say reinvented itself, but kind of remodeled itself in a way. But that Southern component was still there, because you had like Judd was super popular on BB15, and then Donnie the next season was like everyone's favorite house guest ever, and won AFP and all that. So I wanted to like take this moment of like, like the show dealing with these kinds of issues of representation amidst the backdrop of this like insane racism scandal that like hit the house like at the same time. Like that was important for me because like I was living through it like in 2013, because like, I was in college and I was a history major. In particular, I focused on like issues of race and civil rights in like 20th century America. And around the same time was like Ferguson and sort of this new protest movement happening. And at the same time that like I'm sort of like dealing with these things in my academic life, Big Brother has this season where this like racism scandal happens. And it's like this huge piece of discourse when a lot of people at that time would say, oh, racism, that's not around anymore. That's not real. So it's like, I wanted to talk about the sort of Southern identity and these representations of Southern people in this backdrop of what was going on, both like in the world and on Big Brother specifically. So yeah, it had a lot of emotions to it. I'm kind of rambling a bit, but that was the real motivation. It's like, this is stuff I care about. And clearly I have this like personal connection to it. So I think it'll be fun to sort of revisit this season that has obviously a bad reputation, but kind of understand it more. Yeah.
Judd is such a fascinating character. And I think there's not only this character that Judd sort of embodies, but there's also this, he is this archetype of the Southern person, but also like the guy who gets voted out and comes back into the house. I don't know how they seem to find the same vibe of guy where it's like him, Johnny Mac, like Victor, where it's just like, good luck getting rid of me. Oh, you got rid of me again. They're just so hapless. Sometimes I do love that character Johnny Mac, how could you turn on us like this?
Oh,
Just
I
didn't.
know. Ugh.
Oh my god.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it really is like that sort of like, I guess it's like an underdog effect of like,
Yeah.
there are people that are well liked, like socially, like in the house. Then they meet their end, and then they manage to win their way back in. It's like, oh, how fun! Like this person has a second chance. Not realistically, but you know. But yeah, with Judd's case in particular, it's a little funny because of the Helen was pushed conspiracy. You know, it's kind of like, well, everyone loved Helen, and they pushed her off, all in service of, you know, Golden Boy Judd to come back. I'm like, yeah, I get that argument, because clearly production loved Judd and they wanted to keep writing that, like, this is that one, like, nice, like this is just like this good old boy that they love and everyone finds funny. They wanted him in the house, to like be like a shining light for this season, and that was sometimes a little bit of a drag. So
Yeah.
it's like they wanted to kind of keep that character and that arc going as long as they could. So maybe they pushed Helen off. I don't know.
Shout out Helen was pushed.
Shout out Helen was pushed.
You know what I love about that comp in particular is that when they fall off the wall, they just immediately have to run out, and they're always just like, "Bye, guys!" Like running out of the backyard.
except for Jesse, who was like, "Fuck you, Amanda." It's like so iconic.
I think that is like my favorite part of Big Brother is very clearly they're given these instructions of like, don't do anything, but at the same time, there's no control. You know, when they
Mhm.
like say, you know, don't give goodbye messages, and it's like, take care of your pets. Like, what is going on? And that's what I really kind of love about Big Brother is that you're trying to control a group of people. You're trying to get them to behave the way you want them to. And at the end of the day, they can do whatever they want on live television, and you have to sort of reap the consequences in some way,
Mhm.
shape, or form. It's
Yeah, and
beautiful.
that's what's so exciting about a show that is live a third of the time and then is always kind of live on your computer. You know, it's like it's a real living organism of a TV show. It's like it's being created at the same time that you're consuming it, and you're like, well, how's this going to end up being edited on the show like a few days from now? And that's so fascinating. It's like it's such a wonderful thing to like witness the process of like us knowing about things happening in the moment and then it becoming part, you know, a scene on a TV show 3 or 4 days later. Like that's
Mhm.
fascinating. And it's like the main thing that always draws me back to why I like the show.
What are the favorites, right? Do you have a favorite season, a favorite player? Where are your tastes lying, and how do you like, just I'd love to hear what people feel about their favorite TV shows. What are your like most beloved Big Brother moments, players, seasons?
Yeah. I'd say me and my friends, we sort of like go back and forth, like, what are my favorite seasons? Like, because like there's always the easy answers of Big Brother 6, Big Brother 10, like being those like classic
Wow. Did you
archetypal.
watch The Traitors last night?
I'm on episode 4, so I haven't seen the most recent, but I think I got spoiled on it anyways. That's okay. Um, but yeah, like I'd say if I had to pick a favorite season, Big Brother 10 is pretty much it. Like it's the perfect combination of personalities, Dan doing what Dan does, like all of this happening, like in such a crazy cast. I don't know. It's like the perfect combination of the people who are there, production maybe being a little more hands off because that was their second season they had to do that year, since
Mm.
Big Brother 9 was happening in the spring. So that like maybe they were running on fumes a little bit. They're like, okay, let's just do a no frills season, like no big twists. We'll just have like a really interesting cast. And then it happened. And you're like, yeah, that worked really well. Maybe we should just always do that. So I think like Big Brother 10 is probably my favorite, with second place going to Big Brother 3. I just, when I first started going back through older seasons, when I became a fan, something just really resonated with me with Big Brother 3. Obviously, like Danielle being like this amazing player, but just the personalities that, again, with like Big Brother 10, it's like you have Jason, you have Danielle, you have like Jerry is always like a shining light for me, just like the sort of like outcast, goofy, bumbling guy. I always kind of focus in on those people, like Zach Dolphin Crash or Chicken George. Just like these people who are not viewed as like great players, but like they're just there. Like they have these like kind of like strange personalities. Like I really enjoy seasons that have that kind of component to it.
I will never, the fact that Jerry, like the fact that Felicia fell into the pool and it was like, wow, you know who else has fallen into the pool? An icon and a legend, Jerry. Like
oh, that's
Felicia,
Jerry from Big Brother 10. Yeah. I was talking about Jerry from Big Brother 3, which gets a little confusing for people because it's both old dudes. But I love both Jerrys, which also complicates
as you possibly can. I mean, I love Felicia. To me was like a breath of fresh air because she was just so different. And I think it's a shame that Big Brother doesn't want to go down that sort of quirky road anymore, or they're just picking people, like Summer of Steve, where it's like, who is this man?
Who is this?
This man giving absolutely nothing. Like, you need somebody's grandpa who's a little bit like dementia at this point, and
right, like you need a little bit of flavor. Yeah, I think like the age diversity thing, it's something that like a lot of people in the fandom have always said, like we need older people in the house. It can't just be influencer 20 somethings. So like they'll throw us a bone every now and then, it's like, oh, here's an old person. And it's like you're saying with Steve and BB20, it's like, yeah, here's one. And he's like instantly out. You're like, okay, well, but then, I think Felicia maybe could be a turning point for it because she was extremely funny. She made it very, very, very far through the game. She was like a big part of their advertising for the season. Like I'd get commercials for Big Brother on like Pluto and stuff. I'd see Felicia like 10 times a day on those commercials. Like they're like pushing like, here's this fun lady you can watch on the show. And it's not just what you think it is, which is young people playing these ridiculous games. I mean, the competition stuff could certainly be a little adapted to go along with more age diversity. Maybe we could, I don't know, think about that a little bit. But that's
I think we should do more one challenge should just be do laps around the BB backyard.
Yeah, just run as fast as you can. 7
miles.
Yeah, and that's why I always think about the OTT comps. I'm like, they were just like doing whatever. And like Reindeer Games was kind of interesting in that regard too, because they went a little lower budget with it. In ways that were a little interesting, a little unique. Like I wasn't expecting
them to go upstairs. They said you get half a house.
You get half a house, and like the first elimination was them like putting together like a Christmas sweater, and it was like full on like this is a Mario Party mini game. It's real basic, but it's working. Like I'm just always like so excited to see like simplicity and like not having to like do the most when it comes to competitions. Even though I was a big fan of like the Nether Gorgon. I don't know. That was kind of great in my opinion. So I like it both simple and maybe overly produced to absurdity.
So let's talk about Reindeer Games for a second, because I think that's just, you haven't made a video about it yet. It's an interesting topic to talk about. Do you think it's a format that can work going forward? Do you think it's something you would like to see every holiday season? If it involved bringing back these BB players for like a one-off?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it could work. Like, I think about it more from like the CBS side of things. Like they didn't have to spend a lot of money on that show, like compared to what they normally have to shell out for a full Big Brother season. We're talking about like 6 days of shooting. They already have the house kind of in a state of like workability, like after a season. So, I mean, if it could be like OTT where after they finish the season, they bring in the Christmas decorations from the basement or whatever, they get the tree up. And then, they bring in some alumni and like one person from this most recent season. I think that could be a fun way to do it, is like, just assemble a little cast. If it's not a huge hit, who cares? It was only 2 weeks of our lives, the fans who care I think will tune in. And they're always wanting to see alumni. And I think they have a real problem with their alumni relations of like, you can't get these people to commit to 90 or 100 days in the house. You can't get Dan Giesling to come back into the Big Brother house for 100 days. Maybe you could get him for 3. Like that's much easier, and there's no live feeds. Like I think it's a way to at least get some old familiar faces on screen. So I'm hopeful. I just don't know if they're going to feel the need to do it again, because it was like this whole writer strike thing, and maybe they just needed to fill a gap. But I think they could. We'll just see if they will.
Too. You know, I agree with you on the alumni front. Not to mention, like, if you're a Big Brother alumni and you've seen the way that like Cody just won Big Brother All Stars, and like there's all this pre-gaming, I feel like I would never want to do a Big Brother season if I knew that Derek Levasseur picky little hand had something to do with it, you know?
His minions.
His minions were executing his evil deeds. You know, I just feel like there's a level to what these All-Star seasons require, which is just like you got a game so hard, you know, months ahead of time. And if you're out on, you know, you could be out on the sidewalk in a second because, you know, the big alliances don't want to work with you anymore. The reindeer games is like, great, I could comp out for no reason. Sounds good. Like, this is perfect for me.
And there's still like that element of like pre-gaming. Like clearly they're all like, they have the people they're working with, you know, it has these little moments of like alumni drama, but it's so compressed, and it's just like, you know, these little arcs for this like silly Christmas show. It gives you a fix of like what I would want from an actual All Stars 3, which who knows if that would ever even happen again. But it gives me enough to like hope that they could do this in the future and bring back some people that we've not seen in a while. Plus, like, once you've done Big Brother, when you're coming back, you're probably significantly older, you know, like something changes within you after you go from like mid-20s to 30, you know. Like, so once you hit that like higher age bracket, you have some fresh perspectives on things. So it's not going to be the same like going back into the Big Brother house, but that's okay, because what if you just went back for like reindeer games, which is, who knows what it's going to be, but it's going to be short, and you know, it'll just be fun to kind of give it your best shot.
Do you consider Nicole Franzel a 2-time winner of Big Brother?
I saw this debate. I'm like, I guess, I don't know, like, sure, no, I don't know.
I think it's like it can't possibly count for like 2 full wins, but I think you could call it like 1.5. I mean, she had some stiff, you know, it'd be one thing if it was like her versus level 6, or no, wait, what's the other?
Right.
Her versus Baute, right? But you know, it's for Daniel, right? It's for Taylor Hare. Like, she had some stiff competition.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part, is like, it's not like she just came in and like was like, because like with BB18, you know, she was an alumni returning and won that season, which is like a fascinating type of game to win on your second go around. With this, it's like people who've been in this universe for so long, you know. So I think that was one of the most fascinating aspects, was Franzel in particular, because clearly her reputation is more complicated than most. Like, even though she's a winner, you know, she gets a lot of hate. She always is involved in like this drama. I don't know, like the stuff between her and Janelle is still like fascinating to me. So it was great to just get like, it's great that the show could bring in this type of drama on what is ostensibly just like some filler Christmas content. Like, it had some real like drama like that, and that was cool. Sorry. I
don't know why, I just kind of came around on Nicole Franzel at a certain point, and I can't explain it. I think maybe because when you watch the seasons she's on, at first you're like, well, she's really annoying, and then she's just surrounded by some of the like lamest misogynists of all time, and you're
especially BB18, it's like,
like Corey, like, you know what I mean? Who cares? So I think I'm just kind of around on, you know, I think she's a bit of a crybaby sometimes. And I think that, you know, it was really funny to watch her lose Big Brother All Stars. But in some ways, isn't Big Brother about creating these really long arcs and being able to see a person change from different, like you said, different stages of their lives, from their 20s to their 30s to being a family. I love Brittany Haynes so goddamn much.
Great example of it. Yeah. It's like we got to see her at a much younger point in her life, and then like we get to see mom version of Brittany. I'm like, oh, that's fun, because like we got to know her not as the mom archetype, and now here she is, like, talking about how important it is for her to like represent for her daughters. I'm like, that's really fun to like kind of change the dynamic of a character we knew for so long, as like a different type of thing. So yeah, Franzel and Brittany, Danielle, even like just seeing Danielle again is huge. Like it was so emotional for me because like I said, Big Brother 3 was like one of those first, like when I was going through like rewatching old seasons, I was like, oh, this is what Big Brother is. This is like a masterful player that combines like the social and like the competitive aspects and all this stuff. So I mean, yeah, I hope Reindeer Games can continue and just pull out more random names from the past. Like that would be my favorite thing ever.
Well, lastly, I this is kind of, I don't know if you'll have one. Do you have a favorite Big Brother episode? Do you have like a favorite, like this was an episode where I was like, holy shit, everything's going insane all at once, or just something you love very much, all in an episode?
That's a good question. I've thought about doing like maybe on Patreon or something, doing like what are the 5 best episodes type video. Hold on, I'm literally pulling up Paramount Plus to just kind of look through thumbnails. I mean, it's like you want to say like a double eviction, probably.
Yeah, maybe, but also double evictions. The thing about double evictions is there's the double eviction, and then there's the episode where they redo the
autopsy,
double eviction. Yeah, autopsy. And both are good and bad in some ways.
Yeah, I think, I mean, this may be a cop-out, but Judd's eviction was one of the most insane things like I had experienced as a fan at that point. Like from a live show perspective, like completely, like I didn't see it coming. I wasn't as much of a live feeder that year, so I didn't know the things were like building up for his exit. But yeah, like you're saying, the episode after like the autopsy of the double eviction, where they're just going through how this plan like came together in like a 12-minute time span, and like everyone just sort of seizing on this, and like they're all crying like, I can't believe this is happening. Like that's really fun from an episode perspective, because it was like such a I don't know, a watershed moment for the season. Like it's like it kind of divides it. Like we had the first few weeks which were rough from what was going on in the house, but also fun from like we were kicking out like Jeremy and Caitlin, like Aaron's like minions were all getting like booted out of the house. But then it started to get like more serious as like the people in power started to like turn on each other. And Judd was kind of like the opening salvo of that. So that's probably still my favorite, just because I have this personal connection with Judd. But there's got to be a better answer than that. Give me like 2 seconds, because I was thinking about this the other day. You know what? Here's what I'll say. This is also a bad answer, but it's the Sheryl Crow appearance from Big Brother 3. I'm sorry. I love that episode because it's actually like, it's kind of like 2 episodes in one. Like they took a brief break on the schedule and came back like a few days later. So they had like an entire like nomination and veto to get through. And in the middle, there's like this visit from Sheryl Crow. So it's like a 2-hour episode with just some insane stuff happening. But it was also like at a point in the season where it was kind of like getting down to the wire. And they were going to like be kicking out Roddy and Kiara, those types of people who were like kind of in the core alliances. Like it was like that point in the game where we're kind of getting down to who is the final 4 or 5 people going to be. And then Cheryl's there to to add a brief respite from all of the intensity. So yeah, it's like the perfect episode for me, because it is both extremely important for the game, but then there's also this absurd thing that happens in the middle of it. And that's what's great about Big Brother, is that they can do some weird things from time to time, and I love when they do. What's the Gallagher quote? What a wacky life you lead in the Big Brother. Something like that. Speaking of which, I had almost forgotten that Gallagher appeared on Celebrity Big Brother too. He was smashing watermelons in front of like Kato Kalin and stuff.
I would
R.I.P.
love a Celebrity Big Brother deep dive, just because it's like it feels so embarrassing. You know what? I was saying this literally last night to somebody. Like, we were watching Traitors together, and you're watching Traitors, and it feels so fun. It feels so camp. And you watch Survivor together, it feels so fun. You watch Big Brother with a group of people, and you feel like you're all kind of watching pornography together. Like, you feel like you shouldn't be sharing this. This is
Mhm.
embarrassing. This is weird. It's not good. And I can't believe that they go to people who are like either genuine celebrities or Kato Kalin and be like, hey, do you want to be in this house and put on this stupid outfit for like 3 weeks? And you'll get some weird fans from it, but it could be terrible for your career if you'd like to do it. I can't believe that they get people to come play Celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And it's always such a strange time in the fandom because it's what, like 2, maybe 3 weeks? Like it all happens so quickly. And then I can never really remember all the details because all of the episodes will be like 2 hours long and they're covering like a full week's worth of like stuff. And then it's like an eviction, or it'll be like this impromptu double eviction. Like when you're looking at the episode list, you're like, what happens? When is that guy evicted? I don't remember. So it's like, it's a really chaotic show. And I think, a lot of people in the fandom haven't really revisited those seasons at all. Like they remember them happening at the time, but the gameplay that happens is pretty different than what we're used to seeing on the regular show. So I do want to spend some more time with Celebrity Big Brother and maybe do some kind of video. I just don't know what it would be yet. There's a lot of potential there.
Yeah. I think just the history of the awkward little man on Big Brother, like you got a Scaramucci, you got a Chris Kattan, just those guys who are like, you're so small, why are you here?
Why are you here? God bless Catan. That was so great to have him for a brief moment. I get why he needed to get out though. Like it's a tough show to agree to do. So if you're not
Yeah.
fully prepared, it's like, or how can you be prepared? Like you don't know what it's going to be until you get there, and it might be worse than you're imagining.
Yes, I do love the Big Brother super fan who either does incredibly well, like Todrick, or like Jonathan Bennett, where they're out first, and you're just
Mhm.
like, oh, that was embarrassing. Sorry. Which is
Mhm.
why do they have to go out for? He didn't have to go out first, but for some reason,
The
especially with Dina
universe.
Lohan on that season, isn't
Oh,
that
I know.
crazy?
That
Isn't
was so
that
they wanted
crazy?
that to be the final two so bad. They're like, this is gonna be Dina and Jonathan taking it to the end. It's like, nope. Yeah. Like I have fond memories of all those seasons, but then I can't remember the specifics on how we
Yeah.
got to point A to point B. Like so much happens so fast, but it's just as fun as the regular show. It's just a little different.
I remember I asked Mike White if he would, because Mike White can complete the CBS trifecta if he goes on Big Brother. And I was like, would you do Celebrity Big Brother? And he said, being trapped in a studio in Burbank sounds like my nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's going to happen.
It's not going to happen, but I feel like he would be good at it.
He would be so good at it. He genuinely would. That's the upsetting thing. Is he would just have the whole house by the reins, and he would walk to the end, cakewalk to the end. If he could do it on the island, like there's no question.
He should go on regular Big Brother and just not say anything. And maybe, it's like a house full of just like 20 somethings who don't know who he is. And like he could just kind of be like just a mild mannered dude, just kind of there.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, I'm, I'm 50 plus, but I like smoking weed too,
exactly.
like,
Yeah. He can like kind of fit in. They don't have to know about like, oh, you're the White Lotus guy. Like that would totally like change things. But if he could like secretly just be on the show, that would be amazing. My favorite movie one of my favorite movies is still School of Rock to this day. So like it's so wild to me that Ned Schneebly himself is like in our world. He is on Survivor. He's doing the White Lotus stuff. I'm like so happy for him because School of Rock was like the greatest thing ever made. And I will die on that hill.
A great question. You're so right, by the way. Barf, who from Big Brother should be on the White Lotus? Who should have their acting? You know, they've done Days of Our Lives. Who needs to make the jump to HBO?
Wrong answers only. This might be a weird choice. Maybe Ashley I from BB14. Do you know her? Wait, was it I? I don't know what her last name is.
The one who like went on a date with Ian?
Her.
Yeah, that is Ashley I.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm saying this. It's just like that's the name that entered my brain. She's fascinating, and I would love to see her in a White Lotus scenario.
I think she'd be kind of camp at the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Spray tanner.
Yeah, she's interesting. Like she plays ditzy pretty well, but I feel like maybe she's pretty smart. She's also good friends with Jen Johnson. I found like these old YouTube videos of Jen and Ashley like baking cookies on YouTube for like 30 minutes, and I just watched it. I'm like, I'm just hanging out with these ladies. This is great. So I just want more Ashley. I've always been a big fan of hers, and I think it's time for her to start acting.
That'd be great. I mean, also Jen, of course, is a great choice.
Oh yeah,
Jen would be a perfect White Lotus hotel guest. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like she's got the range. She's got yeah. I think Jen's probably the best choice, actually. Jen and Ashley combination duo.
Yeah, together. Yeah, they'll share a scene. Exactly, just like Kara and Angelina, they'll just share a scene. It'll be perfect.
It'll be great. That's an important question. That's great.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I feel like I have picked apart your brain, and I want to give you a rest. And I'm sorry, I forgot to wear my Dolphin Crash shirt today. But,
I need to get Dolphin Crash shirts made. That's what we need. I mean, there are. I think they exist. Like there are a bunch that you can find.
Do you think there's one on eBay? Let's really quick before we wrap up see if there's a Dolphin Crash shirt available on eBay.
I wanted to like reach out to Zach and see if he had any extras, but like I haven't talked with him. I have to imagine he's seen the video, but
unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's Dolphin Crash shirts online, which is just a shame.
Yeah, if I could get an original, like I could recreate something. That might be what I'll do. If there were any way that I could get an original, like it would be so great to have like the Judge shirt and the Dolphin Crash shirt here as my backdrop of insanity. Maybe like one of Dan's shirts, but that's reaching too high.
Like a Dan headband.
Yeah. Oh yeah, or like the Saint Mary shirt, or the Will's shorts, his famous shorts from both seasons. Yeah, I'm sure those are closely guarded.
If you're asked, actually, I'm sorry. Stop the presses. I have another question. Mm-hmm. The ability that you have to clock other props is so. The way that you could be like, hey, I think that's this. It was brought up by me thinking to myself, you know what Big Brother prop I would want is the giant peanut butter that they had.
Oh yeah.
But do you, again, is this in the Rolodex? Do you just see something and you're like, I think I recognize that, or is it a little bit more researchy?
Yeah, it's a combination. I noticed it a couple of things during BB25. They had like a mummy sarcophagus in that like temple. I was like, that looks so familiar. And then I like looked it up. I'm like, oh, I wonder if it was like that same mummy they had in Big Brother 2 when they did that food competition or something. And I looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, that's the same one. And then someone else pointed out, hey, they used it again in like BB16 during the final HOH, where they're like rappelling down this big pyramid, putting like the order of the evicted house guests. It's one of the mummies sitting over to the side. I'm like, that's so fun. So yeah, I love picturing like some sort of like amazing storage room where all of this stuff is like kept. I guess some of it is maybe just like generic CBS props department stuff, like that they just rent. Like, oh, hey, we need the mummy. Okay, well, we'll bring it over from like the CSI people or whatever. I can't even think of another CBS show. Whatever's on CBS, these NCIS,
Miami, whatever these shows are anymore.
Or Sydney. I'm still holding out hope that Bowie Jane's gonna make an appearance on NCIS Sydney. It's what we need.
Oh God, I have to say, no one else will appreciate this. We were watching the finale with my friends, and I, right before Bowie Jane gave her, I love you guys so much, I like turned to my friends and I said like word for word what she was gonna say, and then it happened, and I was like, I should have been video recording that. Like I said like, I love you guys so much, and then
That's pretty good too.
God, she's incredible. It's perfect when you can predict what a Big Brother character is gonna say word for word, and it's accurate. That's beautiful.
Also, we know these people too well. Like we spend too much time with them. Like by the end of a season, like how they think, how they talk, and yeah, finales are always kind of interesting like that. Like seeing what they say, like in the like pressure of the moment, like on a live broadcast. Like I feel like Bowie Jane would say something like this, and then yeah.
She's got it. Her greatest hits. Okay, now let me get you out of here. I should say, first of all, thank you so much for being here. This is so fun, and I've really loved your videos for so long. So thank you for making them, and just, it's okay that you only make 2 a year. They're really good. It's fine. Keep making only 2. I don't mind.
Unfortunately, I do have a job, which takes a lot of my time. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm still like on the small YouTuber scale, but I'm lucky to have like a lot of people from the community that enjoy my stuff and are very supportive. So maybe I'll be more of a household name in the future, but we'll see. If you want to check me out, find me on YouTube. I have some weird little video essays up there.
Let's talk about all the plugs. Let's talk about links, about locations to go. I will say I'm going to put them in the description because I'm amazing. But if anyone's just listening, Twitter, I know you're on YouTube, and I know that you have a Patreon, which I think people should support. So talk to me about those.
Yeah, I'd say the number one source, if you need to find any of my links through a weird twist of fate, you can go to dolphincrash.com. Which I do own, which I bought from McRae. It's a long story, but
it's a long story, and you can hear all about it.
You can hear all about it
if you watch a video.
If you watch my definitive history of Dolphin Crash video. So yeah, I have a YouTube channel, which I believe is just like @Barfbag. On Twitter, I am BB Barfbag. And then you'll mostly see me active at under BB_no context, which is where I post daily inane clips of Big Brother moments from seasons past. And then like during the season, I'm trying to post lots of clips from things that are happening like mid episode. So it can get kind of fun over there. So
yeah.
I checked that out.
I really enjoyed your live tweetings this season. They're very entertaining. Yeah. Almost more entertaining than the show, some would say.
Well, yeah, I mean the show can be a little samey, a little boring. So sometimes you just need to entertain yourself through whatever means necessary. Other than that, yeah, I started a Patreon like around a year ago. So I've got like 8 or 9 videos up there now. I try to do one like once a month, but it's hard to keep up that schedule always. Right now we do a lot of topics that kind of start with like a Big Brother thing, but take us into weirder places. So right now I'm finishing a video on, you may have remembered in Reindeer Games, Cody Calafiore mentioned that he was in some Christmas movies. Well, I found them all and I'm going to watch them all. And we're going to do a video about it. So that's coming up here probably in the next week or so. Yeah, so it's like $5 a month if you want to check it out. It's pretty fun. And then other than that, like I'm working on, as always, a couple of main channel YouTube videos, which will happen at some point this year. My next one's probably going to be on like the hometown segments, like when they like what they did with Judd, like when they sent a camera crew out and they're talking to like Judd's family. It's like a little 5-minute thing. I'm going to do like a video on like the entire history of that as a segment on Big Brother, because they've kind of gone away in recent years.
They really have. Just any family stuff, I feel like in general is gone.
Yeah, they just do a little bit at the end of the season, like with the final 3 or 4, they'll be like, oh, here's a message from your parents. They'll do like a little moment. but it used to be like a whole thing, like emphasis on the show. So I'm working on a video that kind of looks at that whole thing. So that's probably the next major thing for me in the next couple months.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to it. I'll be tuned in. Definitely. If you're at this point in the podcast, you have to subscribe on YouTube. You have to follow on Twitter. Please check out, go start at the beginning. That's my advice. Start at the beginning and work your way to the latest video. They're all so great. Barf, thank you for being here. I just want to tell my listeners to subscribe to me. And okay, listen, I don't want to like no pressure, but a 5-star review would be really nice on like Apple, iTunes, Spotify, whatever you're listening. iTunes.
It's so important for the algorithm. Come on, guys.
Come on, guys. Don't you want me to have a good algorithm? It's been so hard. Please.
It's hard out there for us. We're just regular people. We don't know what to do.
We're just normal men. Please. I don't want to beg you. Just do it if you want to do it. But Barf, thank you so much for being here. It's been really fun. And I appreciate all that you do because it's been a great experience to watch it. So thank you for being on this podcast with me.
Thank you so much. It's flattering to be here. And I'm so excited for this podcast that you're doing. I think it's going to be really fun. And thank you for letting me be an early guest.
I'm thrilled. One of the first ones on my list, I have to say. All right. Let's get out of here. Let's call it a day and go enjoy the rest of our evening. Maybe watch a little bit more BB OTT before we go to bed. How about that?
It's only 10 episodes, I think. So, that's one way to spend your Friday night if you need to.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Good night or good morning. I don't know what time it is.